Test, test.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order of the Guam Election Commission. It is 6:30. We are located here at the Early Vote Center at the Westin Resort, Tumon. It is Thursday, July 25th. And call the meeting to order. Certification of quorum present. Myself, Jerry Chrysostomo, Chairman. Joe Amafnas, Vice Chair. Commissioner Ricky Orsini, Commissioner Joe Meno, Commissioner Benny Panaula, Commissioner Tony Gamatauta, Commissioner Pat Seville. Also present is our legal counsel, Vince Camacho. Excuse absence is Maria Pangilinan, but in her place is Tom San Augustine is here. Certification of public notice requirements. The notice was placed on the Guam Daily Post and the Guam Public Notice website on July 17th and July 19th. And copies are on page 3 of your packet. Approval of agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Okay, motion by Commissioner Gamatauta to approve the agenda. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Meno. Any discussions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, we'll move on to item 4, the approval of the meeting minutes of July 18th. Regular meeting? June 18th, I'm sorry, regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes subject to corrections?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Pat Seville. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Gamatauta. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay. Let's move to item 5, correspondence. Item A.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So item A is a correspondence from Mr. Jen Tamura. He's from the Hawaii Homeland Security, and he was actually offering a physical security assessment of our polling places. And we did go ahead and accept their invitation, and they did conduct an assessment, and that assessment can be found on the next page. From page 11 to 25. Yeah.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners? Are there any issues on this assessment?
Well, they actually did. They actually listed a couple of commendable items. They did mention that they commended the GEC for working closely with the Guam Police Department in establishing security features or security around the polling places. But yes, they did. However, they did come up with some concerns or some improvements rather. So a lot of them range from like information sharing with like the FBI or Homeland Security, and of course maybe implementing some risk assessment trainings to maybe our officials and staff involved with the election.
Are there any action items that they require of us to?
No, Mr. Chair, no action items.
Just recommendations.
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions? Any further questions?
Tom, I do have a question on this, on the,
Yes, sir.
they're recommending sharing information with Homeland Security and the FBI.
Mhm.
I don't know, it just seems like an odd thing for them to be
Y-
asking us to share.
We actually just received the report, Commissioner. So we actually haven't really
Okay.
gotten and looked into it, but that is something we are going to evaluate, and of course we'll advise you of that once we do.
Okay.
Is that probably because we have a federal
Yeah.
race? Yeah. We're- Okay. Yeah, I think if the commission can just analyze that report and then report anything back to us in the
Yep.
next meeting of what
Yes.
you would require of the commission.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next item B.
Item B is a public hearing invitation for Bill 295. This is a public hearing regarding the
Is the funding?
yeah, no, oh no, this is a public hearing regarding public notices for meetings. We did get an invitation, but the commission did not provide any testimony for that hearing. Yeah, it was basically sent out to all agencies.
agencies.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments? Moving on to item C, regarding the presidential nominee on general election ballot inquiry.
Yes, so Mr. Jonathan McKaylee inquired on a presidential nominee for the general election. We did advise him of the mandate that he would have to request to be placed on the ballot, or his candidate will be requested to be placed on the ballot. And we also provided him the citation for that as well.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Orsini?
Mr. Chair, not on this, but on the previous item on testimony on the bill.
Uh-huh.
I recall this bill would make it less costly for the publication of notices for the meetings. It would allow agencies, boards, and commissions to post on government websites, government television channels. If maybe we can do a cost analysis of how much it costs us every year to pay to print, a print newspaper. Especially considering there's only one print newspaper nowadays, and the prices went up for posting. I don't think it would. I think we would still be able to submit maybe supportive testimony if the other commissioners agree that it would help us on the cost side for a bill like this.
Yeah. I think I know there was some discussion by Maria on that, 'cause that was brought up before about the cost. She said it was a lot of money to print.
Yes, yeah, we do spend quite a few on advertisements, especially for the meetings, and of course our notices, our mandated notices for the election. So yeah,
Yeah.
well, we do spend some money on it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair.
just for food for thought though, but do we have actually what's the total cost?
Roughly around, I would say, closer with all the mandated ads, maybe around closer to 20 to 25,000, including the ads for the regular board meetings
Is
as
that
well.
per month?
No, not per month. For the entire.
For the entire year,
yeah, for
for
the
the
entire.
year.
Yeah,
it's about 25 grand.
yeah. And then the ads did go up significantly.
Yeah.
This year we have noticed that. So, but yeah, roughly a range around 25,000 for the year.
Wow.
That's rent for this voting center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just one point.
Yes.
Most of the time when we're talking about media, traditional media is very applicable, especially to the older generation. New media, which I understand, we're transitioning into. But I think the consideration should be made, right, that the bulk of the voters really come from this particular demographics. And so they are traditionally focused on traditional media.
Yes.
Which is
which is your newspapers.
print
Yeah.
and other,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
TV.
They pick up the newspaper. They're the ones that will read it.
So a lot of our mandates, Mr. Chair, do require it be posted on a general circular. So
Right,
that's
right,
why.
yeah.
Good point. Can I mention
Sure.
something, Mr. Chair? Good point by Commissioner Panala, considering our voting demographic. Maybe one recommendation we could put in testimony for the bill, since right now the open government law requires 2 notices, right? The 5-day notice and then the 48-hour.
Yeah.
Perhaps a compromise to lowering the cost that we have to pay would at least maybe the first notice we can pay for the newspaper, and then the second one,
Yeah.
the 48-hour online recommendation.
Yeah. But we didn't submit any testimony on this bill, right?
No.
Okay. But yeah, that's a good point. I think,
Yeah.
because we spend a lot of money, that's a lot of money
Yeah.
still. Yeah, even if it's 25, even if it's a year, but that's a good point. Okay. So, yeah, we're taking note of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe we, based on our discussion here,
Okay. If the
Wouldn't hurt
commission
to
wishes, we
submit,
can itemize
just with
our
our
costs.
recommendations,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The hearing
The hearing
passed.
already
hearing?
happened, so.
Yeah.
You sure finished?
Yeah, but we can submit.
But we can still
But we
submit
can,
that.
Yeah.
we can still submit, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as we can, then it's no problem.
Yeah, because I don't think they reported the bill out of committee yet, right? Okay. You know, on item C, the presidential nominee, what is the, just for public information, what is the rule or I guess the process for somebody asking to be on a presidential, a general election ballot for the although we don't
Yeah.
vote,
So
it's
the
a straw vote.
the rule would be that, of course, they would accept the nominees of the 2 recognized political parties in the nation. That's the Democrat and Republican nominees. So that will be an automatically entry into the ballot. And then the second rule would be that anyone can be placed on the ballot upon request, but they just have had to appear in another state's ballot. So that will be virtually the requirement.
Third parties.
Yeah, and so they
for
would,
instance.
and then they would have to make that request to you, or to you guys.
Have we received any others than what's listed on the, just these 2?
I believe we've only gotten the Bob Johnston one. That is the item D,
Yeah.
to be requested on the ballot. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any questions or discussion from the commissioners? And item D is the same thing, right?
Yes,
It's
and item
just a
D,
different
item D is the
candidate.
same thing. And
Okay. Okay, let's move to item E, another invitation by the Committee of the Whole.
yes, so we did get an invitation from Senator San Augustine's office for Committee of the Whole for Bill 280. This is our supplemental funding of the 415,000. Although we didn't provide any written testimony, we were actually just there to answer any questions the body may have had regarding any of our appropriations.
Okay, and that was eventually signed into law and be.
Yes, that is
set up
correct.
for the
That was
primary.
eventually signed into law.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, moving to item 6, Executive Director's Report. In absence of Maria, Tommy will take that.
Yes. So on your timeline, we are virtually up to date with our timeline meeting all mandates. Of course, the next big one will be or I'll just move on if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, to item 1 underneath it, the early voting, which is relative to the timeline. That's the next big one. Early voting again, it is continuing. So we are moving from. It started on July 15th and it will run through July 29th, and we are open Monday to Saturday from 10 to 6 p.m. So again, the deadline for early voting is coming up. So that's our next big one.
What is the total number of early
Well-
voters so far?
Okay.
To date?
Well, if you like, I can report it now, or I was actually going to report it on the absentee voting section, but I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as of to date, July 25th, 5 p.m., we have received 2,054 voters. So 2,054 voters.
So roughly out of 59,000 eligible voters, registered voters, that's about roughly under 5%.
Under, yes.
Yeah.
Well, what do we think? How does that compare with our projections, and are we getting bang for our buck on this?
It is definitely slower than the last election. We are averaging about at least a little under 200 voters here.
This week.
So yeah, it is. But we are anticipating too that it may pick up with the general election as well. But yes, it is. It is much slower than the 2022 election.
Yeah, I think in the 2020, that's a non-gubernatorial year.
Yeah, and then
The primary turnout was 31%. It's about 17,000 people voted in that out of 55,000. So you get a little bit more voters this time around. Might slightly go up 34, 35% maybe. Yeah, it's not, you know, what I'm still hearing out in the communities that people still don't know there's an early vote or where it is. They're just not paying attention to the
yeah. Oh, and so
to
actually,
what we're advertising, but
yeah. So actually, Mr. Chair, we actually published the sample ballots yesterday.
yeah, I saw
And
that.
as a part of the sample ballot, we also published what do you call it, early voting information, advising the public that the early voting is still going on, and of course the time and date and the deadline of the early voting period.
Yeah, so it's a challenge. I think, was it Commissioner Orsini that made, or the Democrats made that recommendation to kind of do a, reach out to these large organizations, nonprofits. I know Maria had a banner. I don't know if that went out on WhatsApp, but you know, if they could pass those two members, the more people we reach, people are just not paying attention to the advertising, it appears. But if they reach it personally, then they tend to look at it. You know,
Are you picking up much in the way of comments about this particular venue?
Well, a lot of the voters that came in are returning voters from the last election, so they actually do kind of enjoy coming here. We haven't gotten any negative comments per se on the place, and since it hasn't been as busy, the place was. Of course, we are very efficient in processing our voters.
Can we get the Westin to offer, seriously,
Yeah.
10 or 15% discount on lunches?
Oh,
Early voters, show your I voted badge, 10% off. and,
they are already offering a 10% discount down at their coffee shop. So any voter who
Coffee shop.
yeah, any voter who comes
Are
in
we
and votes.
including that in the ads?
No, we did not include that in the ads, but as they come in to vote, yes, we do. When we give them the stickers, we're like, oh, go get your coffee downstairs. It's 10% off. But that's something we can
Put
we
that
can
in
add
the
to
ad.
and we can announce. Yes.
It works for Duncan, man. Come on.
Mr. Chair, so if I'm not mistaken, I recall the total cost for rent here is 25,000.
25,000, yeah. 25,000.
And so if we don't, I mean, the Democrats, right, we had the same concern as our independent commissioner, Seville. That's why we put it on, we suggested that, you know, Maria contact these large organizations, because although we want everybody to come out, I think we also have a duty to the taxpayers. These are local funds. And so if I just take the 25,000 without computing any costs for staff, for logistics, for other expenses, that's about $12 per voter.
Yeah.
At minimum, because I don't know what the total cost is here, considering staff, logistic costs, and other expenses. So I think that's something for us to keep in mind when we're considering the next, you know, if we're having another vote center.
And then, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you guys also know, in part of like the outreach, we of course the director did go on the air and we spoke to media, and then also we also reached out to some of our voters that are inside the base, working for DoD. We have passed them. We have worked with a group over there to pass out flyers and stuff like that to their. Because I believe they mentioned they have about a couple thousand residents working on the base, so they wanted
Yeah,
to
I think
spread that
the
word.
the early voting hit during the pandemic. I mean, we've always had early voting, but for specific types of voters that aren't going to be able to vote on election day. But when the pandemic hit and the early voting happened, that perked the interest of most people. We're out of the pandemic now, and we're back to not being interested in voting early or even voting. So that's why my projection of 30% turnout is, I hope it's not less than that. But just based on historical turnout, it's about 30 to 31% in the primary. So, yeah, I think there's, the outreach, of course, has to be maximized. Across the board, there's, the most expensive thing we could do is a mail out to every voter to remind them about early vote and the voting, but that's massive. You're talking about 60,000 voters to send information to.
And the postage went up as
Yeah.
well. So,
Mr. Chair,
So-
just one thing.
Sure.
With this low turnout for the early vote, some of the information that I received from voters out there is that since this year is the mayoral race, a lot of them want to vote on their area, on their district where they want to vote because, let's take for example Santa Rita, with I guess 5 candidates running for mayor for a small village. So what they're saying is that they'd rather go there and meet with all this, vote there and meet the candidates and all that, rather than come on up here when they don't see the candidate. So because of the mayoral race, maybe that's one of the reason why that is low turnout.
Yeah.
And it's not a gubernatorial race also. That's another thing. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we're gonna go to item 2, candidate packets.
Wait, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
just one recommendation, right, that I sent out to you guys that's free instead of doing a mail out would be to just email or pick up the phone and call the chair or the president of the chamber, the women's chamber, SHRM, the union, and that would be cost $0. Send them an email with the flyer, pick up the phone. These organizations with a lot of members, that would be something we could do that's cost nothing and would probably give us maximize this early vote center here with the last remaining days.
Do we have a listing of organizations with their presidents and nonprofits and?
not on hand right now, but I'm pretty sure
'Cause that could be a
yeah,
network
that can
for
be
outreach,
something
yeah.
we can find easily.
And not very costly at all, if
yeah.
any. Good point. Okay. Candidate packets?
Yes, so we are still continuing to accept packets for the general election. We do have 4 individuals who filed for candidacy, 2 for the Guam Education Board, and 2 for the Consolidated Commission on Utilities. And then just a little bit on the deadline. It is August 7th for these candidates to file. And of course, we'll keep you guys posted as we get closer to that deadline.
Okay. Any questions? General election, did you cover that already?
Yeah, that's the next item
For the
on the
general
general election is the August 7th
Yeah.
deadline for the general election candidates.
Okay, moving on to item 3, absentee voting. I know you reported already on the total votes so far.
Sorry, did you guys want to go over the nominating petitions, Mr. Chair?
And the nominating petition issue that we tabled last, well, we didn't table, but we wanted to discuss further since most of the commissioners were out last meeting. So we want to open up further discussion on the nominating petition issue. So I wanted to give an opportunity for all the commissioners to, I guess, give their input or their comment about the nominating petition. So maybe Tom, you can start with the issue, and then we can open up for discussion. Don't want to beleaguer the issue too much because we discussed it already, but I want each commissioner to have their input on it.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, before Tom reports, I feel uneasy if we use candidates' names, right? We are a week or so out from the primary, and I don't want us to be, I don't want anybody to allege, right, us discussing it at this
Right,
point with a week, a week close to the primary, as if any of us are trying to use it to maneuver or affect the results. When we discuss this, if we can discuss it in general terms and not use specifics.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So upon the closing of the nominating petitions, after vetting all the petitions, there were 7 candidates where we found numerous petitions that where the signatures are questionable. And of course, we are not signature experts and stuff like that, where we can determine if a signature is fraudulent or not. So we set them aside, and of course, we did not add those signatures to the count for any of these candidates. And then the director did call each candidate, each 7 of the candidates, informing them of their questionable petitions. And then, of course, we're now waiting for any action from the board or any direction from the board.
Okay. Commissioner
Tom,
Joe?
you mentioned the removal of these petitions. When they were removed, did each candidate meet the required signatures needed?
Yes,
Okay.
the candidates augment them.
Any other, Commissioner Orsini or Joe, you guys want to?
Just, Tom, and if I'm following this correctly, there's nothing at this point to directly suggest that the candidates themselves had knowledge of this.
No, basically what the petition is it does have the candidate's name on them. However, in the bottom, it does have the attestment for the circulator. So, of course, many of the candidates would normally pass out their petitions to a bunch of different supporters, and they will assist in circulating the petitions, and it will be the circulator in the bottom too with the attestment.
So at this stage, I don't know if investigation is too strong a word or a correct word, but the investigation would be focused really on the circulators.
Yes, at this point, we'll leave it to how the commission would like to, what direction they would like to take. But yes, we went ahead, we informed the candidates that there are some petitions that are found questionable. I believe some of them, I think, looked at them, and of course, we're just waiting for any action of you guys. But the circulator would be the one making the attestment that they saw the voter and they actually signed it.
And just to be clear, because I may have misunderstood this, are you asking us to do anything tonight?
We're just looking at any other direction you guys want us to do with this. So, how would you like us to proceed?
So in the last meeting, I believe we decided to, as we've done in other issues, is refer, because we don't have enforcement authority, refer it to the Attorney General's office. That's where we left off at. But we wanted, because there was only a few commissioners, we wanted everybody's input before we take any other action on that. And because this is not a new issue, we've discovered this in previous elections. So we want to be sure and let the voters know and the candidates know and whoever's circulating the petition that the commission would take this issue very seriously. It's not a game that we're playing where you can just sit at a table and start signing people's names, if that was the issue. So, we all agreed in the last meeting that it is a serious issue, and we wanted further discussion on it before we send it to the Attorney General's office for their action, if any. We're not signature experts, as you know, and if you look at those petitions, but there are other avenues where we can refer these to a signature expert like the Guam Police Department, for instance, just for their review, to give us some guidance, and then refer those to the Attorney General's office. And Attorney General's office can do what they
Mr.
please
Chair,
do.
legal. I know the chair mentioned about referring it to the Guam Police. So if this body decided to send it over to the Guam Police for their expertise in reference to signature, is there any legal thing on that before we refer to the agent's office? Can we refer to the Guam Police first, or what?
I don't see why you could not do that, but the problem is now you're starting an investigative process internally. And when you do that, now you become the body that is the fact finder. Then everything that the fact finder finds creates potential liability because you're not professionals and you're relying on someone else. So the perfect person to do this would be the body that has enforcement authority. They have investigators. They can refer it to the police department and let them dispose of it and then come back to you and say, this is what happened, right? I just don't want any of us to become witnesses or turn the Guam Election Commission into an investigative body outside what we are experts at doing, right, which is running elections. And just making sure, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, we're here to make sure everybody knows that you can't do this. There's the attestation by the circulators. And it just needs to be noticed that if anything that's suspect will be reported, doesn't mean anything's going to happen. And it just means that someone will take a third eye will come and take a look at it and determine whether there's any potential violation and whether that violation could sustain a prosecution.
Yeah, that's the reason why I asked, because I just want to make sure that my mind is clear about that. And, you know, this is not the first time that this happened, and we don't want to have this thing repeated again on the 2026 election. So, you know, I just want to clear my thought on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Singh.
So if we refer it to GPD, I mean, I'm thinking it doesn't need to come back to us at this point or after we refer it there. If the GPD finds something, don't they refer it then to the AG?
No, because all they're determining is whether the signatures are potentially fraudulent. It'll have to come back to you to determine how to dispose of that evidence now. So if you give it to the AG will handle all of that and then prosecute, and then your hands are free at that point in time.
Because I guess if we refer it, it becomes our property.
Correct.
Sent back to us. So, Tom, has the commission, because it's not a new issue, but have we ever referred issues like this to the Attorney General's office before?
Yes, I believe we have sent maybe about 5-6 years ago, what do you call it, suspicious petitions to the Attorney General for their review, but I have not heard anything of it since then.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add real quick that at this point, at this stage, keep in mind, that we are giving attention to this issue, but we also must consider that this is the presumption of innocence, right? We're not signing any guilt to anybody or anyone or anything. That's not what we're doing at this point. The presumption of innocence is the benefit of giving, this process a chance to take its legal course if necessary, but we're not assigning any guilt to anybody at this stage. Okay?
Right. Okay. Commissioner Meno.
Thank you, Tom, for sharing that. And, to shed some light, and we realize that it's happened in the past. And I think it's important for us to bring this attention, right, for it, whatever we need to do or decide. But at the same time, I don't want to feel like we're wasting our time, forwarding it to the AG and then there's no action. I today was able to review it, and it is, from my personal opinion, it is very alarming that these actions are happening. Commissioner Seville mentioned, about the candidates. I think ultimately it's the responsibility of the candidates also as well to ensure that they're not just putting out any, petitions out and not reviewing it. After all, it's their name that's attached to it as well as the circulator. So I think we maybe we need to put more emphasis to the candidate and hold them just as equally responsible to the circulators that you're not just passing out any piece of paper and saying put your name on it, right? Because we didn't have a few. What I saw was a lot, and like you said, Mr. Chair, we're not playing games. And if the candidates are serious in running for public office, they need to pay attention to their people, pay attention to who they send out to get nominations on on their petition or these names, because it's scary. It's a binder. I was expecting, so when I got the binder, I was just flipping pages, but I realized that there were sheets and sheets in the sheet protector.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and say, this is,
Yeah, the concern is if it's been done in previous elections and as well as this election, and no action taken either from the AG's office or ourselves, that it repeats itself again and again and again. And I realize the commission will not count those as suspicious signatures towards the required signatures. But nevertheless, they're charged with it. So at this stage, I know that in the last meeting, we decided to refer to the Attorney General's office. I think that still stands. It's a new Attorney General that we're referring this to. So perhaps maybe they would take more serious action on an issue like this because of the amount of signatures we're talking about. Any further, Commissioner Gamontalto, do you have anything to add? You're the only one that hasn't added anything.
Actually, if we are in doubt and our recourse is to send it to the Attorney General's office for further review, I would think, then I would agree that would be a proper course to take, unless we can decide as a body. But what I am hearing is it needs to go further than just our body.
Sure.
So I'm agreeing to referring it to the Attorney General's office for further review.
And what is usually the process when we do that?
We would just write to the Attorney General, and of course, highlighting what we found, and of course, your direction to forward this to his office for review. And then from there, should the Attorney General ask us any more questions, of course, we will comply with that.
Our concern is that it appears like it's very consistent to our eyes, right?
Oh, the way the signatures
Of the
are.
way the
yeah.
signatures,
Yeah.
that's what I understand. So
Yeah.
I'm not a signature expert, and I wouldn't know. I mean, like whether one person can do 3 different kinds of signatures. I have no
think some of
idea.
those petitions also do not have a signature. They wrote the names down the line, but no signature.
And
But
then
we
they-
didn't count those, obviously, right? So,
So so if the recourse we have is to refer to the Attorney General, then I recommend that we do it that way as soon as we can.
are we able to, when we refer to the Attorney General, make the recommendation of perhaps having them seek a handwriting specialist, or leave it open so that their investigators would know what to do, as opposed to just receiving it, stamping it. We don't hear anything from them.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Is that
I think
appropriate?
It's really up to them on how they do it, because they have their own prosecutorial process in terms of what they need in order to prosecute a case. And so they need to do their due diligence, right? And I don't know what that is with regard to the AG. So there's many cases that go to the AG's office that you never hear anything about.
Sure.
And so, unfortunately, we don't have any authority there's nothing we can do to the candidates. There's nothing we can do to the circulators. And so the only thing that's left is what's within the statute in terms of the criminal aspect of all this, and then the veracity of the attestation statements and whether it's misrepresentation or fraud or whatever. But those are really very succinct allegations that if someone's going to prosecute those, there's specific facts that need to be presented, and it's really going to be up to them to develop those facts and allegations and present that before a court.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
going back to Commissioner Mano, and this goes to Tom. When you have the candidate seminar or training, whatever, was this ever put out or was it ever mentioned about this issue, about the petition that they are also, must look at it, attest to it or whatever?
Yes, when we do give the candidate seminar, we do run through it that there is an attestment in the bottom, and it is required for them to read it. And of course, they have to be present when they're signing. And then we made it specifically known too that we will not accept any petition if the attestment is not filled out.
Wait, but that is an attestment signed by,
The circulator.
Circulator.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Circulator.
actually, that's good, but I think what Commissioner Meno spoke about, in which we probably can't do anything tonight, but it bears giving some thought, is the idea that at some point is there some responsibility that attaches to the candidates? And
Yeah, in the,
I don't know what that would be, but that is something we ought to think about, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct, Commissioner Seville. I wouldn't know if the candidate will have any responsibility. I believe that will be probably for the Office of the Attorney General or someone.
But
Yeah.
I think,
Mhm.
I'm not putting, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to put words in Commissioner Meno's mouth, but even if they, assuming the candidate didn't know, and I'm assuming that for all the
Yeah.
candidates, they didn't know, the circulators
Yeah.
being lazy or being fraudulent or whatever, but the fact that it was their circulator, at some point, is there some responsibility that attaches to the candidate, just for failure to oversee what their circulators are doing?
Yeah, and I guess we can start implementing that and probably emphasizing that at our candidate seminars, that well, we would like the candidates to vet their own petitions too as well, before they submit it. So that's something we can discuss with the candidates during the trainings as well.
Is that something that we can place in writing in the candidate's handbook so that it's in black and white, that ultimately it rests, the responsibility rests with the candidate? It's not there today, but
Yeah.
it's probably something we can look at.
Mr. Chair, I just want to share, right, in my experience in campaigns from gubernatorial, congressional, senatorial, and mayoral, probably maybe except for the mayoral race, but usually in the gubernatorial, congressional, and even senatorial, the signature collection is very far removed from the candidate. It is given to volunteers,
Right.
and then collected by another volunteer in the campaign. The candidate's usually busy prepping for debates, going on the radio, recording ads. So if we decide going forward we're going to attach it to the candidate, I just want to make clear, at least in my experience and all the campaigns I've been involved in, it is a process that's far removed from the candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, because through my experience too, that's what happens. And I think that's what is need to be left up to the AG, because if the AG interviews the circulator, all the AG has to do is say, is the candidate aware of this? Then it's up to them to investigate the magnitude of the participation or the communication with the candidate. And 9 times out of 10, the candidate probably wouldn't know. But that's for them to sort of vet and let them vet that and not. But I tend to agree that you may want to at least give them a warning that they need to review it to ensure there's some kind of veracity, or there's to what they're submitting. So if they see like what you guys saw, anyone would question, hey, are you sure this is okay? And then at that point, go from there. But
Yeah.
trying to put something on someone, I don't think that's for the commission to do at this point, but maybe just warn them that if there's suspicious information or facts, then that would just it'll be vetted somehow.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I had another question. If we entertain this tonight, right, and we motion to refer this to the AG, my worry is I don't want to be accused of trying to change the outcome of an election or affect the outcome of an election somehow. If, Vince, if we refer this tonight, would the documents be publicly available to people who request it, or would they be protected because of a potential investigation?
The nominating petitions are public right now. So anyone can, they just don't know which petitions, right? And I tend to agree with your concern about trying to sway an election. So what you can do is you can say we will report this to the Attorney General after the primary election, because these are primary election ballots. Nothing really can happen between now and the primary election. So I would recommend that you vote to refer it, but don't refer it until after the election. Or don't physically send it over, because right now all of them are qualified. So sending it over before is not going to affect their eligibility or qualification. And it's a different issue than the election, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
I would be okay.
My thing is just the name, right? If on the, attaching the names right on a letter and it gets out.
We don't have to attach the names on the letter, but we have to attach the petitions. So the petitions are right now public.
So if we motion tonight and agree to refer it after the primary, the letter would be considered draft and not shareable.
Yeah, there would be no letter until
yeah. Okay.
after.
Until after. Okay.
Yeah, we just make a motion to refer.
Mr. Chairman, just a real quick question. Could we redact the names of the candidate and the circulator?
No, it's public already.
The petition is
The
public now.
petition's
Yeah.
already public.
Yes, but if we're referring it to the Attorney General, could we redact?
The Attorney General needs the names. The petitions?
Yeah.
No, what we give to the AG.
Yeah, that's not foiable, but anyone can come in and say, I want to see all the petitions and figure it out. It's not that we're giving notice of who the potential or who
Redact the names
of what names.
of the candidate and the circulator, and then give it
We give to the AG.
give it to the AG, because we've done documentation where we redacted information to protect.
But the AG needs that information for their investigation.
If they come to a conclusion, right?
No,
They need it right at.
that's what we need to attach as our
Okay.
report to the AG.
But would the name, the candidate name and the circulator be irrelevant at that point? We're just trying to determine that these
Yeah.
signatures are suspect.
Right.
Not, the name of the candidate and the name of the circulator will be irrelevant at that point. And if the AG investigates and wants to know the name, which should not be an issue, then that can be released, but,
Well, I don't, okay. Just so we can, and maybe, I don't know if we can answer this tonight. I don't have my Guam code with me. What we send to the AG as part of a potential criminal investigation is confidential.
yeah.
And you cannot obtain, the public or the press could not obtain it through a FOIA request. The AG would say no, it's part of a criminal investigation. So the information shouldn't get out. But having said that, since all of the candidates independently qualify regardless of these question names, I agree with Commissioner Orsini that just resolve to send it over after the primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
want to put that into a motion? Or
Yeah, so we'll entertain a motion to refer the signature issue to the Attorney General's office after the August 3rd primary for their perusal and review. Okay,
So
so is there a, so moved? Second? Second by Commissioner Penalo, a motion made by Commissioner Seville. Any further discussions? All those in favor, say aye. Oppose? Okay. Okay, let's move on then to you hit absentee voting already, right?
No, we were actually going on to
Okay.
it, but so yes, page 39. That is your absentee voting report. As reported earlier, for the as of 5 p.m. July 25th, we received 2,054 early vote ballots. And just a rundown of the report too, we've also received 29 off-island ballots and 139 homebound ballots. Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Okay, item 4, precinct officials.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, in this page, this is the list of the precinct officials we have trained. So as of to date, we trained over 365 officials. These names will be published as a part of our mandate in a general circular. So yes, these are the names of the officials who will be servicing our voters on election day.
What is the total number of precinct officials that we're gonna need?
365, but we do train additional alternates. I don't have the alternate numbers. Yeah, I don't have the alternate numbers, but each jurisdiction or each polling place rather would have 2 or 3 alternates on standby in case somebody does not show up.
And with the training, everybody has passed?
Yes, they have passed their examination, and well, of course they completed the training and have
Yeah,
passed their
they passed it.
examination. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any questions, comments from the commissioners? I know we're paying them
$500 this
so
year. Yes,
Didn't seem like there
$500.
was a challenge to find precinct officials this time around.
I have a question. Are people still able to apply to be precinct officials?
Yes, we are still accepting precinct official applications for the general, and then also the precinct officials who submitted their application for the primary. We also gave them the option to check mark if they would like to vote,
the general
be
election.
considered for the general. So, but yes, we are still accepting any application.
And then you may also have some that have already been trained and signed up, but may last minute not.
Yeah,
Sure,
last
that's
minute
where your
may
alternates
change,
come in.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
moving on to district registrars.
Okay, so yes, sir. July 18th was the deadline for registration, and it was also the deadline for the district registrars. Happy to report that all registrars have surrendered all their documents, and as well as their AOR, their voter registration forms.
Okay. Okay, any questions? District registrars, moving on to the polling sites.
Okay, yes. So on your packet, you have the board resolution GC 24-01. This is a board resolution for electioneering. So, Mr. Chair, 9112 of the election code requires that no electioneering be permitted 100 feet from any entrance or exit of a polling place. However, the code also does require allow for the commission to establish new parameters at various polling sites, depending, of course, if it would affect the safety of the electioneers or electioneers and voters. So below you have nine districts. This is actually the same districts that were on the 2022 election, with the exception of item 3, which is Ocean View Middle School. This one, Ocean View Middle School, Hoggett, shall be 20 feet from the security post located closest to the school. And then we also made one adjustment on number 9, which is DL Paris. Of course, we expanded the precinct, so we just added the precincts 19D to 19G to the resolution. This one, Mr. Chair, I guess is an action item and requires you guys to approve and sign.
You need a motion on that.
I do have one question,
Yes.
if I may.
Yes.
On number 8, JFK, and I forget, it's where I vote, I can't remember now. But it's been both, so where you say along the fence adjacent to Marine Corps Drive, is that inside the fence or outside the fence?
Yes, I believe this will be inside the fence.
Inside,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious why 350 feet from the designated curbside voting area?
Well, of course, because that's where our accessible voters will be voting, and the electioneers will be inside the gate, so we want to create that distance to make sure that they're not electioneering right in front of them. Because I'm sorry, sir, the curbside voting area is not generally near the polling rooms. So of course it could be designated around an area near the electioneers. So we want it to be at least 350 feet away from them. Yeah, from the voters who will be using the accessible voting services.
Okay. It
Yeah,
just
sorry.
seemed kind of far to me, but maybe
Yeah.
not. That's fine. Okay, it seems to work up
Yeah,
there.
it's pretty much just to prevent them from electioneering too close.
Thank you.
Okay, so you need a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes, and we also would like your signatures as well after the meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Okay, motion to approve Board Resolution 2024-01. Is there a second to that
I
motion?
second.
Second by Commissioner Gamatauto. Any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. Okay, motion passes. Moving on then to the test election for the
Yes, Mr.
2024
Chair.
primary election.
Oh, yes. So the 2024 primary election, we're asking that the test election be held on August 1st August 1st at 6 p.m. at the UOG Fieldhouse. And then we are expecting our ESNS tech to be there. So that way he will be available to answer any questions you guys may have there.
Okay, does anybody have any issues for that? August 1st? Election's August 3rd, so this is Thursday, right?
Yes.
Thursday at 6 p.m. at the UOG Fieldhouse Election Center. We'll all meet up there. Okay. Moving on, tabulation, the write-in votes. I guess we have to discuss the write-in
Yes. And then,
process, right?
yeah. And then, Mr. Chair, if I can just pass it on to our legal counsel and
Sure.
he can open it.
Okay.
Really, Tom?
So, yeah, I mean, in anticipation for the write-in process and how we're going to report it. So we working with ESNS to determine how we're going to do this process. And that's because we understand it was already noticed by the Democratic Party that I think there's 4 active potential write-ins that are running. And so we're trying to come up with a process to figure out how we're going to count those potential write-in votes. One process that was recommended was we review all the paper ballots. The machine, as you all know, the machines can sort out and pull out just the write-in ballots. The problem with that is we're gonna have to go through every single write-in ballot that night before we seal it. And
That's because we can't open the ballot
Because you-
box until 30 days later.
once you seal the ballots into the envelope, it cannot be reopened unless there's a recount, right? For 30 days. So that means we would not be able to count the physical ballots. But as you know, the new system, or even the current system, will take a picture of every single write-in on the ballot, and you actually have a sample that's here. So the second process would be to
So this one?
it looks like this. So this report can come out from, it'll take a picture of every single write-in ballot, even the ones that don't count. So keep in mind that the law requires that not only a name be written, but the oval be colored in. So if the oval's not colored in, that doesn't count, but it'll still take a picture of that write-in. Then, on a separate date, we can create either teams that will review every single one of these and determine how this is going to, or how we're going to count it. The problem with these types of things is how you guys are going to determine the voter's intent on who they intended to vote for. So if someone says, Joe Cruz, how many Joe Cruzes are there on Guam? If you can't identify which Joe Cruz that is, that could be a problem. If someone writes in J Cruz or Joe C, how are we going to sort of, so those are decisions that's going to be left up to the 7 of you, right? And that's going through every single write-in. Now keep in mind, this is only going to really happen if we have a substantial amount of write-ins where it will change or affect a potential race. But we're planning on that, considering the fact that there is a lot more options for write-ins for both parties and anticipating the process. So the third option would be for the staff, the Guam Election Commission, to compile the report, and like we've done in the past, and present it to the board. And then the board will make the decision, because the software can actually take variations of names, and if we tag it, it'll actually, if we tag every signature, it can actually compile the votes for that particular signature. So
Is this
right
the
now,
report?
huh?
Is this the report you're talking about?
Yes, this is the
This is
report,
scanned.
the scanned, yeah. So, for example, like in this case, we showed the district and then all the write-in candidates for each of the ballots that that came in.
So for number 2, right, the second option, when you said the machine takes a photo,
That's this right here.
that's this. So this is 2 and number 3. This is 2 and
Yes,
3.
Correct.
I've noticed that it cuts off the name. Is it going to be like this?
It depends, because where some people, it depends on where they write the name. Sometimes they don't write it on the line. And the way the scanner scans it is it scans a certain area on the ballot. So I don't know if, I think if we look at the actual scan, it will show the full signature. But this is just the report that's put together. So we'll have to figure that out with ESNS.
So for option 2 and 3, it's going to look like this.
This is, no, so this is option 2 or 3. We actually see it on the screen. So we can actually see it on the computer. So this was what was done in the past. Yeah.
So when the machine scans and it takes a picture, and reference to what Commissioner Orsini mentioned, how it's cut off, if we decide option 3, which is the GEC staff would they be able to
Yes.
access the ballot to look at the name?
Yeah,
If
you'll
if
be
there's a
able to
cut-
access, you'll be able to see the scan too,
Okay.
the actual scan itself.
For process 3, the staff, are they determining, or is it
No,
they're
they take the variations of the names and lump it together and say, these are the variations of this name, these are the variations of these names that they can determine. Any questionable names, that will be everything the commissioners have to decide, right? But it'll shorten the time because that will just give the staff the time to quickly review it and then compile that information and then report it to you. And then it's up to you guys. You're going to get the full list of everything that was.
So if a name is written on the oval and we're going with number 3, but let's say there's like a little mark on the oval, is that going to be captured?
That's up to you guys. Yeah, it'll be
If
captured
we go
because
with number
even
3.
yeah, because even look at on here, even with no mark on the oval, if they write in, it'll capture it.
We'll have to determine the voter's intent, or is
But
that an
if
error
it's
by-
completely blank, that won't. It'll show up as a write-in, but it won't count because there's the oval's not colored in. So these write-in votes that don't have colored in ovals will not count.
Have we, I know that in the past when they have write-in efforts, a candidate will come with variations of names that they want to be counted. Has the commission been approached by any candidates for the write-in for those variations of names, or
Yes, I believe 2 candidates have requested a variation of names, and I believe the commission response was that they have to be clear and distinguishable for the commission to make a decision on that. That is that.
write-in.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, is this for this election? Was this decided? When was this decided?
That you guys decided that just this year. No. Yes, you guys said you were not accept variations
Yeah, I believe one of the candidates was
because someone was asking.
Mr. Ray Hackett. I believe he was the last candidate to ask. Yeah.
Guys, it's seldom that my memory is better than, I have the weakest memory here, but we've been addressing this for years.
yeah?
And actually, several cycles ago, I don't know that we've adopted a firm policy, but we said, we are not going to decide in advance that it can be Ray or Raymond or RT, you know. It's your job, as we have been telling the candidates from before this election, it's your job to get your supporters to write a name that we can tell means you, but we're not approving. It's not, we're not in the business of saying, yeah, we'll accept Ray or Raymond or RT or whatever.
Yeah, that's
I think that was the.
Okay.
that's exactly what.
Okay, but it wasn't just this election. I mean, we've been doing, that's been our policy.
Well, yeah, but
in Yeah.
a prior election, you had people submit up to 5.
Yeah, 5.
I know.
I think
That's what caused us to
Yes,
eventually say,
exactly.
we're not in the business of
Yeah.
cataloging all these, yeah.
I think it was up to 2, right, or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, that hasn't changed.
Then you needed a cheat sheet.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it'll be after so that night of the election, August 3rd, we will get a report like this.
You'll get a report of how many write-ins.
Yeah, how many write-ins?
But we cannot give you the names because we physically have to
Right.
look at every single
Yeah.
name. And then we will give you the report with all the names. So we're hoping there's not a lot, but
Yeah.
So option 3 would be the GEC staff to compile this.
yeah, so each GEC staff will be partnered up with the legal counsel to review,
Oh, okay.
and the legal counsel will confirm what the GEC staff has reviewed, and that will go into a report for the commission to review and determine, right? The other option, option number 2, would require each and every one of you to sit here for hours and look at every single one and make that determination.
I have a question. So, which option here would, which option here would produce the least amount of errors? I just, I don't mind staying here for hours, right? I signed up for this. I don't mind if it takes me days. But I just don't, if the voters have an intent, I want to honor it and recognize it and not look it over. So I just want to go with the option that would result in the least or no error.
You're never going to get no errors, but the least errors is probably the GEC staff doing that, because they're the ones who, it's fairly easy for them to do that because that's what they've done in the past, right? So they're used to doing that. The second option, what that does is we have to create 3 different teams. So there's going to be a Republican and a Democrat reviewing the different signatures, the individual signatures. The problem, and the legal, with the independent being sort of the question resolver between if there's any questions. So that will take up time, but then team 1 may not have the same resolution as team 3. So that's where it would take longer, and it could cause more errors because the teams are not looking at all the same ballots, right? So they're all looking at different ballots versus option 3, where it's just the staff looking at all the ballots and then making that determination. And it's just all the write-in ballots.
Wait, just to clarify, the staff are not making any determination, right? They're just
No,
capturing
they're
the
just
photo
capturing
and putting
the-
it in a report.
Correct.
Okay.
They cannot, the GEC cannot make those determinations. That would be the 7 of you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned they will be accompanied by legal.
Yes.
Do we have that on our staffing pattern? Additional legal counsel?
I have, so every election, I have 4 attorneys working the election because we have a table for tabulators. We have a
Right.
table. So I will be with the results. I have 1 at the tabulators, and then I have 2 working the resolution tables with all 7 of you. So whenever a ballot gets rejected, they're there to make sure that there's a Republican and a Democrat and an independent to review to make that determination. So this goes to your question, if there's a dot on the oval, that's when that ballot will be spit out. And then we call 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, and you guys hash
Is
it
that
out.
an additional cost, or is that a part of the contract?
No, it's part of the contract.
Oh, okay.
You're just gonna pay for 4 attorneys the night of the election, then.
I'm just about the money, just making sure we have it.
Yeah. So there should be a lot of transparency there. But at least in my experience, Pat's been here longer, but we've not had a disagreement on the oval. Whether that's the voters' intent or is that a little dot?
You just need to stick around.
Yeah.
Because you never know when that reject's gonna come out. And that's what will hold up tabulation, is because if we can't close that batch until you guys resolve the ballots. So,
The write-ins are usually so inconsequential to the outcome of the election. I mean, they rarely have any impact on that. The commissioners tend, in the past at least, have tended to be pretty forgiving. You know, give the voter the benefit of the doubt. Did they,
But I
a
think
little
because
dot and okay, that's,
Right.
that, yeah.
but I think now that the new law requires us to count the write-ins we
Yeah.
have to have an SOP on
Right.
how to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that done. Okay. All right. Any further discussions on that? Tom, moving on to.
You don't have to make a decision tonight, but you may have to make a decision by August 1st at the test election.
Okay.
So I think we wanted to talk to,
Because
The vendors
ES&S
first.
will be here,
Yes,
right?
yes, ES&S will be here, and then
Because they're the ones who provided us with the three options. And so if we have any questions, if you guys can please send it to Tom or Maria. So at our meeting with ES&S, those questions can be addressed.
Well, just I want to put it out there to my fellow commissioners. Although I love our GEC staff, I don't think I want to sit here hours looking at ballots. I mean, that's just my personal. Okay.
They, you know, I've sat through a couple of hand counts of when we did, and we've never done the whole thing, but even sitting through a dozen precincts or so, you really start to appreciate how well-trained our staff is and how much more efficient they are than the commissioners. So at that kind of task. So option 3 is looking
yeah.
pretty good. Pretty
We
good.
can decide August 1st, right?
Right.
Okay.
right,
Yeah, I think it's best to wait and talk to the.
Keep an open mind, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You're gonna do that when we do provisionals and absentee. Punching in the machine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's move on then to motor voter.
Yes, so, Mr. Chair, on page 58, that is your monthly voter by precinct report. So, registration deadline ended on July 18th, so the report is as of July 18th. We are at 60,324 registered voters. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. It's outside of your packet, Mr. It was provided, this is the more updated. And then, of course, this is the breakdown.
Yeah. Like I said before, they're nice numbers, but turnout. Turnout is poor. Okay. You covered item C2 online.
Yeah, and then, of course, item C, and it is just your breakdown, of course, of how the monthly precinct report was generated and where these registrations came from, these new voters, how they entered into our registry.
Okay, any questions on that? Moving on to the monthly financial report, U.S. election.
Okay, so
page
on
60.
our monthly financials, so Mr. Chair, we are still experiencing some challenges in reconciling with the new government system, the AS4, or I'm sorry, 365 rather. But in another note, we did receive the $415,000, and we have begun we have procured, of course, the vote center, and we're beginning to start procuring some of our resources needed for the primary election.
Tom, you mentioned, I think it's island-wide with the new system, still trying to iron out the kinks. But you guys are okay with salaries, benefits, all of that?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are okay, actually. So when we were hiring our temporary employees, we did actually hire them about maybe 3 pay periods later than where they were supposed to come in. So that, of course, saved us some money on the personnel side. And of course, the early voting being running for only 15 days was some cost savings for us, as opposed to last election where the early voting ran for a 30-day period. Yeah.
And how about your contracts, rent, supplies? You guys are okay with
Yes.
funding?
Yeah. And then, of course, we also got the supplemental funding of the $415,000 to take care of a lot of the major expenses, such as the election security costs, the um, um, the election center, and of course the precinct official stipends.
What is line item 290? What's miscellaneous used for?
Miscellaneous will be used, it's primarily used for the precinct official stipends,
Oh,
of
okay.
course, and then board stipends and things like that. Yeah. And that's also under the fiscal year, the 2024, the supplemental. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, moving on to,
I have a question, Mr. Chair. How much federal funding do we have available?
I believe about nine. Commissioner Sini, I believe it's around 900,000. It's on page. One moment, sir. Yes, sorry, we haven't gotten there. So it's on page 62. It's around $978,992.
And can we use this funding for all our purposes, or is this federal funding attached to a specific purpose?
Some of the federal fundings are specific. So we do have like a securities grants where we will, it's specific to the upgrades of election technology and election security. So of course, we cannot just use that to pay for any supplies or stuff like that. And then of course, some we are able to use, I believe in HAVA, we are able to use some of the funds to pay for some. We were talking to EAC and helping us pay for our precinct officials and providing the $500.
The increase of the
yeah,
500.
increase. Yes.
and then as well as the Votronic, we
Yes.
some of the, to purchase some of those machines.
Yes, to purchase any of the machines and equipment. So,
We probably have enough to purchase it for all the precincts at some point.
yeah.
Because
Get
this
rid
is
of
a
the paper
grant,
ballot.
sorry. Because this is a grant, Tom, is there any end date to it or for expenditures?
No, this is just until exhaustion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair, can we have a breakdown of the federal funding by, how much we have in the securities grant, how much we have for the HAVA, and how much, just kind of a breakdown so we know what, the flexibility with the federal funding we have, what we can use it on, so we can have like column A, right? Break it down by grants, because it's kind of a lump sum here, and I don't really get a full picture of the federal grants.
You'll probably get a breakdown of what each grant is for and used for.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. We can provide that for you on the August.
Okay. Item F, election campaign contribution.
Yes, sir. So, so far, the deadline to file the candidates' election campaign contributions reports was yesterday. We did, all candidates have filed with the exception of 6 candidates. Some of them is because they are off island, and but however, their treasurers did come in and did certify the report, but of course it's still pending the candidate's signature. Yeah, and I believe we only have 2 where neither the candidate nor the treasurer submitted their report. Right here.
They should be listed there.
Did you guys want to see?
And if they didn't file, do we normally send them a notification?
Well,
Follow up?
of course, we do try and contact them and let them know of the requirement. And I believe the statute does require that if they are not complied, that we would also forward their name to the Attorney General. But for the most part, a lot of the candidates, they may have just forgotten, and of course, they will comply immediately after that.
Mr. Chair, so, I just heard there was some confusion, right? Some people didn't think it was this primary election, right? So maybe we could just be clearer on when the reports are due.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, okay, we can go out, and we actually did send a reminder notices to actually all the candidates, letting them know that their reports are actually due 10 days prior to an election. And we do actually cover that on the trainings. But yes, we'll go ahead and
That's on the
emphasize more
handbook
on
too,
that.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and emphasize.
But a
more
lot
on
of candidates don't attend the candidate seminar. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we ask that also to their
Yeah.
committee chairs or their treasurers do attend. Yeah.
But that's not bad if you only have 2 that didn't submit.
Mm-hmm.
We could follow up on that. Okay. Let's move on to old business. Campaign Finance Committee.
Nothing to report, Mr. Chair.
Item B, the modernizing the election process. The express vote.
Yeah.
I know we purchased
Yes, we did. We purchased
a lot of those.
Yeah, we are running them, and the public, or at least the people who do come in, they generally like the machines. The participation rate on this is roughly about 40% of the voters that did come in. So they're actually liking the machines, and a lot of positive review on them. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just to note, they do have the ballots now,
Side by side.
side by side, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is a great improvement, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, the machine does show all candidates on one page.
Okay. So that'll work for the general election. Yeah, I voted with the machine, and it's very efficient and very, you stick the ballot in, and you wonder where it goes. And then you don't know when it's going to come out unless you stop it. But it's more efficient than writing it down. So, and you can't cross over. It'll eliminate a lot of spoiled ballots, I think. Okay, moving on then to item C, the competitive grant application.
Yes, so the competitive grant application, so this is the one where Director Pangilinan was going to do a college course, training college students to work at the polls. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the class due to low enrollment, but we'll, of course, keep the commissioners posted if we do start another course.
Did we get any UOG students for precinct officials for the primary?
Yes, we do get UOG students. However, I'm not too sure if they were the same students that did the
before.
election class, but yes, there is quite a few UOG students that participate.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item D, the election security grant.
Yeah. Okay. So nothing further to report there, Mr. Chair. But of course, yes, we will provide a breakdown for Commissioner Rossini and of course all of you on the breakdowns on the balances of the accounts for each grant we have.
Okay, yeah, that'll be helpful. Okay, item E, Bill 280.
Yes. So of course, Bill, as we all know, Bill 280 was passed, and it's now Public Law 37-99, and it's now for $415,000. We did ask for the increase because, of course, we did increase the number of precincts and again the polling places due to the increase in registration. So that $15,000 increase was due to, again, to staff the precincts and again to give them their supplies and equipment necessary.
Okay. Any questions? The FY24 election security grant. I know we talked about 23.
Yeah, that's the same.
before.
Yeah.
No change there. Item G, the evaluation committee.
Yes, I guess that was already completed. The machines are the new tabulation machines, the DS 950s. They're actually on their way, and we're hoping they'll be here by by Sunday. Yeah.
So
And of
these are the
course-
new
yeah.
tabulation machines that will be at the election central.
Yeah.
That should be,
Faster. Faster.
it'll cut it by maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, I believe they said it goes like 390 ballots.
No,
something-
hopefully an
something like
hour,
that. So
a
it's
couple of
fast. It's
hours.
fast. Yeah. Yes, and then also Mike, our ESNS tech, will be accompanying or will be here too, so that you guys can address any of your concerns or questions.
Okay. All right. Moving on then to new business. Any new business?
No new business.
Okay, legal counsel report.
No updates, Mr.
No
Chair.
updates to that issue. Okay. Okay, public comments? Are there any members of the public that would like to comment or, yeah, just state your name.
Yes, my name is Benny Roslin, and good evening, Chair and Vice Chair, and closer. Okay. My name is Benny Roslin, and good evening, Chairman and Vice Chair, and the Commissioners. I came before you because the thing is that I was given the ultimatum to resign or termination. Somebody mentioned that my name was submitted to Attorney General. I was working at the Adelaide Governor's Office. John Cobb, the Chief of Staff, gave me that, and I did resign. For the fact is that the petitions that I circulate, 5 of the petition, Parkinson, Dan, Dave, Drainus, Tom Fisher, Ginger, and this 5. There's another one. I go to bingo every day, and I made a lot of friends. So they asked me if I can help them with the signatures. So when I went to bingo with all those a lot of people, I am sitting down in number 116.
Mr. Rosalind?
Yes.
You were here during the discussions regarding signatures and nominating petitions. And as you know, the commission does not want any specific information to be released. Are you referring to those petitions that the commissioner and we would ask, or we would request that you not mention any names?
No, they did mention my name. That's why I was
No,
given.
I know, but with the commission itself here has not mentioned any names, has not reported anything to anybody. So I'm not sure, and we want to keep the integrity of the process. And so if you need to talk to someone, I would suggest and I ask that you talk to Maria Pangolini.
I did, and that's what she did. She wants me to be here. I did.
Okay. But again, as the commissioners alluded to earlier, no report, no names were given to anybody. As a matter of fact, the commissioners decided tonight that nothing will happen until after the primary election. So in all due respect, Mr. Rosalind, we want to respect you and your ability to provide comment, but if you can just refrain from identifying specific individuals and just talk about the issues, I think that would be okay.
Right. Yeah.
I am hurt and pain because I don't have any job and I work so hard. What did I do wrong?
As you heard tonight, nothing was done from this body. This body doesn't intend to do anything about anything until such time that the election is done. So I'm not sure where you're getting the information that you're trying to inform the body about, but you heard it directly from everyone here that there was no report, there was nothing really done other than they reviewed petitions.
So now I'll be out there cold.
They don't have the ability to do anything regarding your employment because they didn't do anything. So we're at a point where we're at a crossroads. We just want to protect the integrity of the election process that's going to happen. And so that's why we're asking. We cannot stop you from talking and making a public comment. But we just don't want any perception to be out there in the public that the commission has anything to do with anything, especially with regard to you and what you have to say. Because as you heard tonight, this body has not done anything. So that's what we're asking.
So what you're saying is that they just decided to let me go.
Yeah, we cannot, the commission has no idea, I don't think, of what your situation is.
Okay, let me just, before I close this, all right? When I signed my name, I was there. There's nothing, or what they're saying, I cannot forge those names. No, I was there. I passed you there in the bingo, and that's all it is. Then I signed, all right? That's all. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Okay, any other public comments? Our next meeting will be, or this will be on
Yes, next meeting will be the test election day. That'll be August 1st.
August 1st at 6 o'clock at the UOG Field House. 6 o'clock, yeah. Okay. Is there a motion then to adjourn the meeting until,
Real quick, Mr. Chair, are we able, just before the letter goes out to the AG after the primary, just to see a draft?
sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, we can prepare a draft for you guys.
Yeah. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting till August 1st, 6 p.m.?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Sini, second. Second by Commissioner Gumatauto. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's 8:05. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
We have to sign.
Resolution, yeah.